7 years into our marriage, I had caught my wife, Clara, cheating on me 3 different times. Each instance played out differently, a small drama in its own right. The first time, she stood in the pouring rain outside our home, begging me for forgiveness with tears mixing with the storm. The second time, she didn't come to me alone. She enlisted my own parents to form a united front, pressuring me to stop the divorce proceedings I had initiated. By the third time, any pretense of remorse was gone. She just laughed, a casual and dismissive sound, and lit a cigarette. "Go find someone if that's what you want," she'd said, smoke curling from her lips. "Are you satisfied now?" And yes, I was. Very much so. It wasn't until I took her suggestion and tried it for myself that I finally understood her. The excitement of being with someone new, the thrill of the forbidden, was truly an amazing feeling. But in the end, it was Clara who ended up regretting her words. On the evening of my 29th birthday, I was sitting at home, completely alone. Clara had promised she would be back to celebrate with me, but a text message had arrived just a short while ago. "Something came up," it read. It was interesting timing, especially since her secretary, Nathan, posted something on his social media account not long after. It was clearly meant for me to see. The picture was taken from inside a high-rise hotel room. In the foreground was a large bathtub filled with foam, set right beside floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city lights. 2 hands were intertwined amidst the bubbles, one clearly a woman's. You could feel the intimacy, just from the image. I looked closer and saw the faint, pale tan line on her ring finger where her wedding band usually sat. I recognized it as Clara's hand immediately. The funny thing was, I didn't feel a single thing. This wasn't some shocking new revelation. It was just another Tuesday in the life of our marriage, another instance of her infidelity. The post disappeared from his account very quickly, and a moment later Nathan added a new comment, writing that posting it was a mistake, and that he'd be punished by the boss. I turned off my phone, my heart completely numb to the situation. But a deep coldness was spreading through my body, a physical chill that urged me to find warmth somewhere. I decided to drive to my parents' house. When I reached their front door, I raised my hand to knock, but it felt like an invisible force was holding it back. I just stood there on the porch for a few minutes, listening to the sounds from inside. "Hey, isn't it my brother's birthday today?" I heard Kevin, my younger brother, ask. My mother seemed thoughtful for a moment. "Tomorrow is your birthday, dear." "Oh," Kevin said. "That means it's his today. Should we give him a call?" "What's the point?" she replied in a teasing tone. "We'll just celebrate for both of you tomorrow anyway. He's used to it. He always has been." My dad chimed in then, making the assumption that Clara was with me. My mom quickly corrected him, mentioning that Clara was away on a business trip. Her voice turned sharp as she warned him not to trust appearances. "He makes it seem like he's owed a fortune," she said about me. "If he can't keep a woman, that's his own fault." My dad and Kevin readily agreed with her, and the topic of conversation quickly shifted. I heard their laughter start up again inside, light and carefree. Meanwhile, I stood outside in the growing darkness, feeling colder than ever, my body starting to tremble. 2 years ago, when I first found out Clara was cheating, I was utterly devastated. I felt like I had been plunged into a pit of ice, and the only word I could manage to say was divorce. I truly believed back then that when you love someone, you can't accept any form of betrayal. I held on to that belief even as she knelt in that terrible storm, and even when she insisted that she had been drugged and it wasn't her fault. I spent countless sleepless nights crying, unwilling to forgive her. That was when my mom slapped me across the face. "You're the one who insisted on marrying her against our advice," she'd yelled. "And now you want to just leave her? Are you trying to bring shame to this entire family?" Seeing the look of disbelief on my face, my mom's tone softened slightly. Clara was set up, she said. Just give her another chance. For a whole month, Clara apologized to me every single day. Finally, I gave in, but I couldn't bring myself to sleep in the same bed as her anymore. I just couldn't. Seeing how I had become a hollow shell of myself, Clara would cry. She wrote me a long pledge, promising to be faithful, and started sharing her daily schedule with me. She took care of me meticulously, but within half a year she was at it again. This time it was with her secretary, Nathan. Her excuse was that she was drunk and thought he was me. I just stared at her, silent, until she stormed out of the room, embarrassed and angry. She didn't ask for my forgiveness this time. Instead, she went straight to my parents, knowing they would defend her. My mom blamed me for not showing Clara enough affection, while my dad threatened to disown me if I tried to pursue a divorce. My brother, Kevin, reminded me that Clara's company had funded his own business venture, urging me to think about the family's financial stability. They made scenes at my home and at my workplace until they finally realized their efforts were futile. My mom even ended up in the hospital after a fainting spell, pleading with me from her bed to keep the family intact for her sake. Friends who had once respected me now mocked me behind my back, suggesting I should just accept my situation for the sake of my parasitic family. Clara didn't even need to say a word through all of this. She knew they had already said everything for her. So, once more, I conceded. From that point on, things between Clara and me hit rock bottom. I ignored her completely, and she started coming home later and later each night. During her third affair, she became bold enough to bring her secretary home with her. There were marks from their passion visible on her neck. When I questioned her about why we didn't just get a divorce, she calmly lit a cigarette. Her eyes were clouded by the smoke as she sighed. "Leo, at our age, let's not be so naive," she said. "Even if I agreed to a divorce, your parents wouldn't. I'm thinking of you." Despite being so candid about the fact that she no longer loved me, she told me that we still shared a familial bond. To my own surprise, I laughed. "So, you finally admit it?" I said. "You're not in love with me anymore." Clara studied me for a long moment, and then her lips curled into a sardonic smile. "Feelings fade with time," she mused. "With a deadened heart, what comes next?" I didn't know the answer. After leaving that place I was supposed to call home, I encountered a drunk man on the street. He was glaring at me as if I were his mortal enemy. His stare ignited a destructive desire deep within me. You all should just disappear already, I thought. What's the point of living if it feels like this? Smiling grimly, I reached for a small utility knife I kept in my pocket, and his eyes filled with dread. For a while, paranoia had defined my world, and I'd started carrying a weapon just for a semblance of safety. "Are you crazy or something?" he snapped, suddenly clear-headed, before sprinting away. I chased after him, spewing all the hatred that had been building inside me, pushing my body to its limits. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs felt like they would give out, but there was no sign of him. I took out my phone and smashed it on the pavement. I destroyed everything within my reach, but it still wasn't enough to quell the storm raging inside me. Fueled by a surge of adrenaline, I wandered aimlessly through the city. It wasn't until I heard the sound of the ocean that I found some semblance of peace. I sat on the rocks all through the night, watching the sun rise, and I thought long and hard about my life. My wife was not my lover. My family was not my family. I had lost everything I had ever held dear, and yet there was a strange peace in that profound emptiness. There were no expectations, no hope, and nothing to anchor me to my old life. I was free to do whatever I wanted now. What's next? What if it all just collapses? I could become the person they feared I was. As the sun rose higher, I felt something inside me shatter and then reform. All of my emotions were stripped away, leaving nothing but a profound indifference in their place. When I opened the front door to our house, Clara and Nathan were back, flirting on the sofa. The housekeeper who guided me inside seemed deeply uncomfortable. Clara glanced over, her eyes widening in stun. "What's wrong with your leg?" she asked. Her display of concern almost made me chuckle. "Cut it on some glass," I said flatly. Nathan chimed in with a mocking tone. "Leo, dude, pulling a disappearing act like that? You had the boss worried sick all night. She didn't get any sleep." He gave Clara an understanding look. Clara didn't say anything, but she shot him a warning glance that still had a hint of indulgence in it. I chuckled. "Like I said, these shoes are trash. Not only did I fall, but my phone broke too. I definitely need to get some better quality things. Could you help me out? Go get me the latest spring and summer limited editions from all those high-end brands? Money's no issue. My wife has plenty." Nathan's face fell a little, and he tugged on Clara's sleeve, only to find her looking at me thoughtfully. "It's my birthday," I added. "Can't you help me out a little?" Clara suddenly smiled. "Then let him buy it for you," she said to Nathan. She patted his arm. "You can head back now. I'm going to celebrate my hubby's birthday." Nathan gave me a glare before reluctantly leaving. "What do you want as a birthday gift?" Clara asked me. I looked straight at her. "Remember what you said about an open marriage? Does that offer still stand?" Clara paused, watching as I pulled out a brand new phone from my pocket and pointed the camera at her. "Say it again for the camera," I said. "Just in case you change your mind later. I need some evidence." Clara seemed to think of something, and a smirk played on her lips instead of the anger I expected. "Don't worry," she said. "If you find someone, so will I. Are you satisfied now? What if you're the one who regrets it?" "Regret?" she scoffed. "If I regret it, I'm a fool." I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. I told the maid to prepare the first-floor guest room for me. As I walked away, Clara's eyes lingered on my new phone. "Switched brands?" she asked. I nodded. "Had the old one for too long. Got bored. Just trying something new." Honestly, we hadn't spoken so calmly to each other in ages. But I must have said something wrong, because she let out a cold laugh and left the room. Leo had been acting strangely lately. After years of dedication to his job, he had just quit. He used to be the type to never leave, no matter how stressed or exhausted he got. He always said that his work was his pride. Now he was spending his days buying fancy cars and expensive antiques, things he had never shown any interest in before. He didn't even use the unlimited black card Clara had given him, so she eventually stopped offering it. Now, however, he was happily receiving everything she bought for him, sending her pictures of things he liked, and acting a bit spoiled, almost cute. Clara started to feel a growing sense of unease. She asked the maid what Leo had been up to. The maid told her that he was going to the gym every single day. Was he working out to impress her? Leo had always been so stubborn. She knew that about him. Had he finally changed his mind? Clara should have been happy about this development, but she felt an inexplicable heaviness creeping into her chest. It felt like things were slipping out of her grasp. Leo wasn't supposed to be like this. She sat in her office, lighting a cigarette, trying to retrace what had felt off lately. An open marriage? There was no way. Even if Leo had given up on her, his pride would have led him to seek a divorce. He would never cross that line. The more Clara thought about it, the more irritated she became. Her secretary, Nathan, murmured from his desk, "Dressing up like that every day? He must be sneaking around, right?" Clara was suddenly pushed to the brink. In a flash of rage, she grabbed Nathan's hair and yanked his head down hard. As he cried out in pain and disbelief, Clara's face twisted with fury. "My husband's business is none of your concern," she spat. Are you sure you know your place? Nathan's eyes immediately reddened, and he quickly lowered his gaze to beg for her pardon. I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. But Clara had already lost interest. She grabbed her coat and left the office. She happened to be going on a business trip for a week to a city by the sea. On a whim, she decided to visit the temple they had gone to just after they got married. In the temple courtyard stood a huge banyan tree, its branches covered in red prayer ribbons. Clara searched for a long time before she found the one they had tied together years ago. The ink was badly faded, but she recognized his handwriting instantly. Leo and Clara, love forever. A sudden sting in her eyes spread a slow, aching weight through her chest. Clara couldn't wait to get home. She desperately wanted to see Leo, but when she walked through the front door, she found women's clothes strewn everywhere. From Leo's room, she could hear his lazy laugh. "Cut it out, Chloe," he was saying. "Go take a shower." Clara froze in place as the bedroom door opened. Leo stood there, wrapped only in a towel. A woman, Chloe, gasped and feigned distress as she glanced from Clara back to me. "Didn't you say your wife was on a trip? Why is she back so soon?" I gave her a comforting smile and then turned to face the doorway. "Why didn't you call or something?" I asked Clara. Clara stood there like a statue, completely stunned. A few seconds later, she snapped back to reality, and her anger surged. She raised a fist to hit Chloe, but fortunately, Chloe had prepared for this possibility ever since we got together. She always reminded herself to stay fit so she wouldn't get beaten up by my wife. She dodged the blow smoothly and nonchalantly remarked, "Take it easy. If you injure me, your hubby will be upset too." So immature. I chuckled. "Chloe, you should go. My wife probably needs to have a word with me. I'll see you next time." She scooped up her clothes from the floor and, right in front of Clara, gave me a deep, lingering kiss. She whispered daringly, "Don't keep me waiting too long." I smiled and nodded, watching her leave. Just as I stood up straight, a sharp pain shot through my wrist as I was roughly pulled into the bathroom. Clara's eyes were bloodshot with rage. She yanked off my towel and dragged me into the empty bathtub. Then she turned on the cold shower, and the sudden rush of icy water made me yelp as I slapped her hard across the face in retaliation. "What the hell is wrong with you?" The slap turned her face away, and it seemed to bring a semblance of calm back to her demeanor. She glared at me, her jaw clenched. "Leo, how dare you betray me?" I frowned, feigning confusion. "Clara, are you acting forgetful now? We agreed on an open marriage. You swore you wouldn't regret it. So what is all this about?" Clara's face paled under the droplets of water, her lips trembling slightly. "That's because you were sure I'd never cross that line. That I would just swallow my pride, right?" I casually stretched my arms out along the edges of the tub, showing off the fresh marks on my skin from Chloe. Clara turned away as if she'd been burned, her fists clenching and unclenching at her sides, trembling. I let out a soft laugh. "You're such a sad, pathetic mess." After our falling out, Clara retaliated by bringing Nathan straight home with her. Our poor nanny went from being shocked to pretending she was deaf and blind. I wasn't even fazed by it. I even complimented the new silk pajamas Nathan had apparently gotten for Clara. Seeing my indifferent attitude only made Clara more furious. She dragged Nathan back to her room, determined to cause a ruckus to prove her existence to me. When I was trying to sleep upstairs, they were next door, hammering away at the headboard. When I moved downstairs to the living room, they were busy on the sofa. Late one night, I was woken up yet again by all the noise, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I went to their bedroom door and kicked it hard. "Can you have some decency?" I shouted. "Are people not allowed to sleep in this house?" The door opened quickly. Clara stood there, smirking. "I thought you didn't care." So what's this about now? Suppressing my anger, I said, I don't care what you do, where you do it, or how you do it, but maybe be a little quieter when other people are trying to rest. Is that too much to ask? Clara looked at me for a long time, searching my face for any hint of jealousy. After a moment, she feigned disinterest and shrugged. Nope, can't do that. Sorry about that. She had been warned, but she wouldn't listen. It was her house, after all. Leo was just going to have to endure it. I realized she had a point, so I turned and went back to my room. Half an hour later, I was wheeling my suitcase through the living room where Chloe was waiting for me. Seeing me about to leave, Clara's forehead tensed. She rushed out and grabbed my wrist. Leo, where are you going? I shoved her hand away with disdain. To a place where I can get some sleep, okay? Are you satisfied now? Clara blocked my way, finally losing her cool. You are not allowed to leave. Chloe gave Clara a sharp elbow to the ribs. Make way, don't crowd him. You may not care about his sleep, but I do. Clara yelped as she was pushed against the wall. Nathan rushed out from the bedroom to help her, only to be brushed off. Throughout the entire exchange, Clara's eyes were locked on me, and I saw shock and confusion on her face. Without a single backward glance, I left with Chloe. I'll come back when this place is peaceful again, I called over my shoulder. Chloe drove me to one of my properties. As soon as we were inside, she made herself at home, clinging to me. You hardly ever come to see me after your wife came back, she said. What am I to you? I affectionately patted her head. You're my side chick. She pouted dramatically. Well, can you spend some time with your side chick now? Though her tone was questioning, her hands were already slipping under my shirt. It was hard to connect this playful version of her with the cold, aloof woman I had met just 2 months ago. Our first encounter hadn't been pleasant. After I had caught Clara cheating again, my mother had put on an act of scolding her in front of me before showing her true colors. She blamed me for not being able to keep Clara's heart, criticizing my looks, my body, and my personality, making me feel completely worthless. Finally, she urged me to dress up better to please Clara. At that moment, I retched right there in front of her. My throat burned, and my stomach churned with an unspeakable disgust. The funny thing is, my mom just thought I was sick. She happily took me to the hospital, only to find out it was just a regular case of gastritis. Disappointed, she mumbled to herself as she left me there. Dazed, I left the hospital, dragging my feet like a zombie. I don't know how long I walked until a business card was handed to me. Interested in fitness, it said. The word fitness pierced my nerves. I lost it right there on the street, breaking down and crying. You think I should work out to please my cheating wife? I sobbed. You think her cheating is because I'm not good-looking or in shape? You think this is all my fault? Passers-by stopped to watch my meltdown. I felt utterly helpless. I quickly apologized to the woman who gave me the card, grabbed it, and hurried away. Her voice rang out, clear and calm, behind me. You're fine just the way you are. Your wife's cheating isn't your fault. She's the one who made a vow at the wedding and didn't keep her promise. That's her failure. Fitness isn't about pleasing others, it's about feeling in control of shaping your own body. I awkwardly wiped my tears and walked faster. I sat by the river for a long time. When I finally turned around, a tall figure was standing behind me. Though we were strangers, she had been worried I would spiral, so she had stayed with me for a while. Later, I signed up for the top-tier membership at her gym. She became my personal trainer, and I learned her name was Chloe. Chloe was stunning, with countless members hitting on her daily. But outside of work, she kept everyone at arm's length, especially someone like me, a married man. But I'm a patient person. Back in college, Clara was broke, but beautiful and ambitious. Her enticing demeanor attracted proposals from many wealthy guys, but she didn't hesitate in rejecting all of them. I knew then that someone like me, from a middle-class background, might have some common ground with her. I was constantly around her, showing my interest subtly without ever confessing my feelings, leaving her no room to reject me. 2 years passed like that. Suitors came and went, but I stood my ground. Clara finally yielded. The turning point came when her mom fell ill. I accompanied her to the hospital every day, helping her for 2 weeks straight. She kissed me then and promised she would never betray me. In hindsight, her words were complete nonsense. But honestly, I've got some experience when it comes to chasing difficult women. After getting Chloe's contact information, I went through everything on her social media profile. There were only a few posts, but they had all the information I needed. Songs she shared, movie stills she liked, and topics she was interested in. I spent a few days absorbing it all, and then I casually brought them up during our training sessions. That gave us something to talk about. It was clear as day that it was working. She started replying to my messages more often. During class, there were those occasional, accidental touches, and at night, it felt like we were really connecting on a deeper level. Maybe as I get older, I've become more attractive. In less than 2 months, she was opening up to me. Chloe was a rich kid. Her family's business was mostly abroad. Her parents had a business marriage, divorced after she was born, and each had their own affairs. Not feeling loved at home, she had run away. She came back to work as a fitness trainer rather than inherit a cold fortune. Chloe asked me once, "Do you think I'm silly?" I chuckled. "Pretty silly, yeah. I used to be just like you. Did you run away hoping they'd come after you? But the truth is, they'd forget you fast, and some outsider would end up inheriting what should have been yours. People who don't love you just get annoyed when you cry. They don't feel sympathetic. I'm speaking from experience." Chloe just stared at me, her eyes flashing. "You must have had it rough, huh?" "Honestly," I said, "once you figure things out, it's easier. When you expect nothing from anyone, you can't be disappointed. Instead of wallowing in pain while other people are having fun, why not find some joy for yourself? Speaking of joy, what about you?" Chloe rolled her eyes and grabbed my hand. "You just want my body, huh?" She didn't say much after that, but she showed me her answer with a trail of kisses that headed downwards. She certainly knew how to make me happy. I hadn't even been enjoying living away from home for long before Clara started stirring up drama again. In the middle of the night, her friends added me to a group chat. They sent over a bunch of videos of her, completely drunk at a club, crying and calling out my name. It was classic Clara, always knowing exactly how to disgust me, no matter what she did. "You can't just ignore Clara," one of her friends messaged. "She's almost drinking herself into the hospital." "Can't she have her new guy pick her up?" I replied. "She only wants you." I sent the video I had taken of Clara swearing she'd never regret our open marriage to the group. No one spoke after that. The group was dissolved soon after, but my phone rang instantly. It was the same friend. "Clara is too drunk. We can't handle her. Please, just think of it as a favor." I was ready to hang up when I heard Clara grab the phone. "Leo, come get me," she slurred. "I'll double your allowance." I paused for 2 seconds. I looked over at Chloe, who was half asleep beside me. She wrapped her arms around me. "Don't go," she murmured. I kissed her. "Relax. I'll have her buy us another car. We'll go on a road trip next month." Chloe finally let go. When I got to the club, it was one of her friends who came to fetch me. The same one who used to talk down to me, always telling me to keep the peace for Clara's sake. I saw Clara and gently patted her on the face. "You're still pretty hot yourself," I said to the friend. "You know, Clara and I have an open relationship now. Want to go shopping sometime?" She looked confused. Before she could even respond, Clara slapped her hard across the face. "What kind of look was that you were giving my husband?" she snarled. Her friend was shocked. "I didn't do anything." But Clara wasn't listening, and almost hit her again, which finally pissed her friend off. "You're nuts." They started fighting, and it took several people to separate them. I just stood there with my arms crossed, enjoying the show. When Clara finally got into the passenger seat of my car, I was grinning, which seemed to throw her off. "Where to?" I asked. "Back to your little love nest with Nathan?" She paused for a bit, then said awkwardly, "That's our home." I didn't respond, but the heavy scent of alcohol in the car was getting to me. "This car reeks of booze now," I said. "It's going to need a deep clean. You'll have to buy me another one after I pick it out." Clara had her eyes closed, and I almost thought she'd fallen asleep, but then she let out a bitter chuckle. "Is that all we can talk about now? Money?" I just found her bewildering. "What are you complaining about now? Your only worth to me is the money you bring. Why should I care about you otherwise? Sorry, I'm not as pathetic as you are." Clara sighed deeply and slowly opened her eyes. Her gaze was dark and unreadable. "Leo, I barely recognize you anymore." I laughed. "Can't handle it? Then let's get a divorce." Clara chuckled softly too. "Divorce? That's not happening." It seemed like Clara was dead set on making my life as difficult as possible. I had just gotten a new car and was planning a trip with Chloe when my mom called me dozens of times, insisting that I come home for dinner. It was obvious that Clara was behind it. And sure enough, when I walked in, there was Clara, looking all cozy with my family. My dad was probably a little tipsy, beaming and waving for me to come sit down. "Leo," he said, "Clara told us she's going to cut ties with that other guy and settle down with you." I glanced at her. "What's this game about now?" Clara didn't dodge my gaze. She looked genuinely sincere, just like the first time I had caught her cheating. "Honey, I promised your parents. Give me another chance, will you?" My mom was grinning from ear to ear. "Yeah, talk it out. Harmony brings prosperity. You two should have a kid soon. It strengthens the marriage." Clara nodded in agreement. Everyone was supporting her, and no one cared to ask what I thought about it. I popped a piece of fish into my mouth and smiled lightly when they all turned to look at me. "Didn't Clara tell you? I cheated too." Suddenly, the room went silent. Clara's pupils widened in shock. She couldn't believe I had just ripped the bandage off like that. My brother Kevin was the first to react, giving an awkward chuckle. "You're joking, right?" I tilted my head at him. "My wife and I decided on an open marriage a long time ago. We just do our own thing. You're young, you should be able to get it." Clara grabbed my hand, her own hand trembling a little. Her expression was caught somewhere between crying and laughing. It was very hard to look at. "That was just angry talk," she said. "Can we just drop it from now on?" I shook her hand off me. "I don't get what you want. Isn't this better? I don't meddle with you, and you don't meddle with me." My dad slammed his chopsticks down on the table. Seeing that I didn't even flinch and just kept eating, he knocked my chopsticks out of my hand. "Did you hear me?" The air in the room reeked of smoke and alcohol, and it was becoming hard to breathe. I stood up and flipped the entire dinner table over. "You don't want me to eat, right? Then no one eats." The plates smashed loudly, scattering food and broken porcelain everywhere. Clara was stunned, looking at me like I was a complete stranger. With everyone just staring at me, too shocked to speak, I raised my voice. I turned to my mom. "Who paid for your surgery back then? Was it your precious little boy?" "No, it was me. The son you always looked down on." Then I glared at my dad. "When it comes to food and drinks, you always only think of your little boy. But when your back was hurting and you were in the hospital, you thought of me. I couldn't make it, so you reluctantly let your little boy see you. You were so happy then, weren't you? Saying how dependable the little one was. Everything I did for you was wiped out with just that one line. Do I owe you people anything?" I looked around the room. "Even this house, I saved up my own money to buy it for you. What has your little treasure ever done for you?" I pointed at Kevin's pale face. "All he does is keep begging me not to get a divorce because his entire career depends on my wife. So if that's the case, wouldn't it make more sense for me to get a divorce and let him marry her?" "Leo, are you crazy?" my mom shrieked, furious. She tried to hit me, but Clara held her back tightly. She looked at me, disbelief written all over her face. My family had been my last soft spot, and now I had painfully exposed that vulnerability myself. "Crazy, maybe I am." I spun around, grabbed a decorative baseball bat from the corner, and smashed the TV. "TV, I bought it, smash." Then the fridge. "Fridge, I bought it, smash." The air conditioner. "Mine too, smash." I demolished everything in the room that I could, leaving complete chaos in my wake. It all became chaotic. My mom was crying her heart out, calling me an ungrateful child, and saying she might as well just die. I smiled at her, an almost warm smile. "If you want to die, go ahead. The last time you took poison, you made it back. Next time, try jumping off a building. And make sure it's a tall one, because I won't be there to stop you this time." Her wailing stopped abruptly. With everything in the room trashed, I tossed the bat aside and looked at my terrified family. "I won't care about any of you anymore. Whether you live or die, it's up to you. But if you push me again, I can't say what I might do next time." On the way back in the car, Clara still couldn't seem to process what had just happened. Her tone was laced with confusion. "Leo, what's gotten into you lately?" I closed my eyes, relaxed against the headrest, and asked slowly, "You played the same trick again, didn't you? Using them to try and force a reconciliation? Are you happy with how it turned out?" Clara drove, staring straight ahead at the road. She tried to smirk, but she just couldn't manage it. "So why won't you forgive me this time? You don't want me, and you don't even want your family. Leo, when did you become so heartless?" Her voice was calm, but each word was heavy with defeat. I slowly opened my eyes. "Clara, they're your family, not mine. When I was getting hurt by you over and over again, they always sided against me. From that point on, they weren't my family anymore. My only regret is not realizing it sooner. You see, life would have been much better. From now on, I have nothing to care about. So what can you possibly threaten me with?" I leisurely gave her a glance. The car came to a soft stop by the curb. I stepped out without a second thought. From behind me, I heard a whisper that almost got lost in the breeze. "Yeah, how do I even keep you now?" I left all those dreary people and things behind me. Keeping my promise, I took Chloe on a road trip. For a whole month, we headed west together. We ran across vast, open prairies and witnessed the breathtaking sunrise over the mountains. It felt like my long, dormant vitality was finally revived, pumping through my veins again. For the first time in a long time, I felt true freedom. It was intoxicating. When we got back, Clara wanted me to move back home. She said that she had fired Nathan, promising that I would never have to see him again. I agreed, since it didn't really matter to me where I stayed, as long as it came with money. But the very day I moved back in, Nathan showed up at the door, completely losing his mind. He seemed to be drunk, and he made a huge scene in the living room, clinging to Clara and refusing to leave. "I don't believe you don't love me at all," he cried. Clara was cold now. "Not one bit," she said. Nathan's voice turned sharp and bitter. "If you don't love me, then why did you let me take off your wedding ring? Why did you let me ride shotgun in your car? Why did you miss Leo's birthday and then let me taunt him about it on social media? Can you really say there was no feeling for me at all? Is it him? Is he forcing you to break up with me? He can have someone else, but he won't let you get a divorce. I'm going to go confront him about that." He stormed off, heading upstairs to find me. But Clara yanked him back down hard. Her voice hit a chilling note, brimming with suppressed fury. Nathan, are you looking for death? Who do you think you are, causing a scene like this in front of my husband?" Nathan stared at her, tears streaming down his face. But then he broke into a maniacal laugh. "Clara, now you're playing the devoted wife?" He sneered through his tears. "Did you think of your husband while you were enjoying yourself with me? Now he doesn't love you, and you want to go crawling back to him? How cheap can you be?" She didn't retort. She just called security to have him dragged out. As I came down the stairs, I caught Clara's gaze. She seemed a bit flustered. "I've really cut things off with him," she began, but I interrupted her. "You don't need to explain anything to me." Clara noticed the luggage in my hand and quickly asked, "Where are you going?" I pushed the front door open without looking back at her. "Chloe's not feeling well. I'm going to go check on her. I won't be back tonight." Clara couldn't say another word. She just stood there, watching as the door gently closed between us. Suddenly, her eyes welled up with tears. Chloe truly was sick. It was probably from travel fatigue. She started running a low fever as soon as she got back. I insisted on taking her to the hospital for treatment and medication. After a long day, I said, "Get some rest." I touched her forehead to check her temperature, then got up and turned off the light. Lisa held on to my hand, her voice hoarse from her illness. "Don't leave." "I won't. Go to sleep. I'm right here with you." She looked pale from her sickness. The usual boldness in her appearance was now replaced by a tender meekness. "No one's ever treated me this well," she whispered. "If you're willing to let them, plenty of people will treat you well," I said softly. Chloe looked at me, almost stubbornly. "It's not the same. I just want you—" I paused, my eyes shifting downward. "In your condition, you might not be up for it." She shot me a glance, her ears tinged red. "Actually, it's possible. Don't you want to try a 100-degree fever?" I pinched her lips gently, my face expressionless. "Stop it. I'm not about to exploit a patient. If you're not going to sleep, then I'm leaving." Reluctantly, Chloe closed her eyes, but she still held on tight to my hand. I just let it be. The next morning, I made her some porridge. As I stood by the stove, Chloe came up behind me and lazily hugged my waist. "Are you leaving?" "Yeah, take care of yourself. I'll see you in a couple of days." She frowned. "Your wife is such a copycat. I get sick, and suddenly she gets sick too." I chuckled. "Can't be helped. After all, she is the main wife." Chloe bit me on the collarbone out of frustration. She slid her hand under my shirt, her fingers trailing over my skin. "You're pretty tense, huh?" She breathed softly. "Was half an hour not enough?" By the time I got home, it was almost evening. The nanny had called me earlier, saying that Clara had a high fever. I couldn't be bothered. But soon enough, Clara called me herself. She threatened me with Chloe's job to get me to come back home. As soon as I walked in, I threw my luggage at her face without mercy. "Clara, is doing this every day fun for you?" She didn't move. Her slender figure just stood there in silence. Raising her eyes, she glanced at the bite mark on my collarbone, and her pupils trembled. I sneered. "Spit it out. What do you want with this charade?" "My stomach hurts," she said weakly. I replied impatiently. "Then go see a doctor. I can't cure you." Clara moved her dry lips. "I want your porridge." "I don't feel like it." "You felt like making it for Chloe, didn't you?" I halted halfway up the stairs, frowned, and looked back at her. "Are you spying on her now, Clara? You were the one who suggested this open relationship. What kind of nonsense are you pulling now? You're the CEO of a publicly traded company. Don't you have anything better to do than obsess over others? Do you feel accomplished? You think messing with Chloe is going to affect me? There will always be someone else. I have absolutely no guilt about spending your money on other women. When will you finally understand? No one cares if you're sick or not." Suddenly, Clara doubled over, clutching her stomach. Cold sweat glistened on her temple, and she looked like she was in deep pain. She wanted to speak, but she couldn't seem to form a word from the agony. There was a pleading look in her eyes. I watched her pathetic state with complete indifference, called the nanny, and then turned and went upstairs. In the middle of the night, half asleep, I felt someone kissing me. Instinctively, I pushed her away. "Don't!" She froze for a moment, then intensified her actions, kissing me almost frantically, making me breathless. Once I was fully awake, I slapped her hard. "Clara, are you nuts?" She didn't dodge the blow. She pressed her face into my hand, and I felt a wetness on my skin. "I was wrong," she sobbed. "I really was wrong. Let's reconcile. No more drama, okay?" Clara's voice was choked with tears as she desperately tried to close the gap between us. Her lips brushed against my neck. "What he can do, I can do too. I'll make you feel good, okay?" Furious, I yanked her hair back, forcing her to look up at me. "You think you can even compare with Chloe? She's young and she's clean. Touching you just feels dirty." Clara crumbled, covering her eyes and whimpering. "What do I do, Leo? Tell me, what should I do?" I was even more frustrated now. "Go find someone else. No one is stopping you." Clara clung to me. "I won't look. Never again, I'm sorry. I regret it. Please, just forgive me one more time." I couldn't take it anymore. I dragged her to the bathroom sink by her hair. "Remember what you said? You said if you ever regret it, you're a dog. Look at yourself in the mirror now. Don't you seem just like a dog?" In the mirror, she appeared gaunt and pale, her eyes glassy and bloodshot, as if all the life had been drained from her. She was a far cry from the confident woman she had been just months ago. Holding Clara's arm, I realized how shockingly thin she had become. I just wanted to snap her out of it, but she managed a sad smile and whimpered like a wounded animal. "Leo, I am a dog. I'm worthless. I'm an idiot. I don't care if you hit me or scold me. Just do whatever makes you happy. I just want you back. We'll return to the way things were." "We will," she mumbled, as if trying to comfort herself. I let her go in disgust, a gentle push, and she collapsed to the floor. I looked down at her for a long time. "Clara, when did you become so weak? Didn't you end up catching some disease, huh? If you're sick, get treated. That's my only request. My quality of life can't drop at all, since you're only good for making money." After things went south, I stopped going home altogether. Uncharacteristically, Clara didn't disturb me. However, my mom started calling, playing the victim with a cautious undertone. My dad and my brother, Kevin, took turns reaching out, their tones much gentler than before. They hinted that they wanted me to visit more often. They've actually always been like this. They treated me and Kevin differently. If his clothes grew old, he would get new ones. Mine would just get patched up. His allowance could always be replenished. Mine was never enough. There was so much disappointment that I couldn't express. But whenever I was determined to hate them, I'd recall a night when I was sick, and they tucked the blankets around me and sighed with worry. The hardest part wasn't their constant belittling. It was the illusion of love they would occasionally create. My whole life, I had been chasing that elusive warmth, because it was just enough to dull all the suffering and hurt. Some people say a parent's love is like a damp cotton jacket. It feels cold when you wear it, and it feels cold when you take it off. The bravest thing I had ever done was to choose to be with Clara, despite my parents' scolding. It was the only significant escape of my soul in 20 years. Later on, things proved that I had made the right decision. Gradually, the biased image of my parents faded from my memory, replaced by the image of caring family members. I despised myself for being so cheap, yet I couldn't resist the love from my family. Until Clara cheated, and my beautiful fantasy shattered in an instant. It turned out it was all just a dream. Before my soul was about to die, I finally took off that damp cotton jacket. I wouldn't let it torture me anymore. After blocking everyone's number, I took a deep breath. See, it's no big deal. I met Clara again 2 months later. It was the Memorial Day for her mother. I bought a bouquet of white chrysanthemums for her. She was wearing a black cashmere coat, standing silently in front of the tombstone. We stood side by side for a while without speaking. In such a scene, it's hard not to recall the past. Right after we got married, Clara was busy starting her own business, securing investments, and attending to clients. She wore herself out trying to make money for her mom's mounting medical bills. Her body broke down with stomach bleeding several times, landing her in the hospital. It pained me to see her like that. I learned to make meals that were gentle on her stomach, juggling my time between the hospital and my own work. I was best at making porridge because she loved it. Clara's mom had pancreatic cancer. She underwent surgery, but unfortunately it relapsed. I was with her during her final days. She would often tell me stories about Clara's childhood. Clara's dad had cheated on her and abandoned them when she was very young. She grew up early and mature, skipping even the rebellious phase of her teenage years. Clara's mom told me that meeting me was a blessing for both of them. Before she passed away, she made Clara vow to take care of me for the rest of her life. Clara nodded vehemently, tears streaming down her face. So, even after Clara cheated, she never shortchanged me financially. I've given up on trying to figure out if that's considered breaking a promise or not. It is what it is. As I turned to leave the cemetery, I heard her calm voice. "Leo, let's get a divorce." I stopped in my tracks and, after a moment, lowered my gaze. When we were signing the divorce papers, I glanced at the asset division. Surprisingly, she was extremely generous. She practically gave me everything she owned, except for the company shares. The amount was so large it actually startled me. I wasn't dumb enough to refuse it. I even joked, "I told you I have a good eye for women. At least you're generous." Her face was gaunt, practically a skeleton wrapped in clothes. The corners of her lips curled into a self-deprecating smile when she met my eyes. "But you stopped trusting me a long time ago," she said. "Or you wouldn't have secretly started moving assets." I smiled slightly and said nothing. I never intended to be entangled with a bad person for my entire life, so I had kept asking her for money, finding ways to move assets overseas. Even if things completely fell apart and I ended up with nothing from the divorce, I'd still have enough to live the rest of my life in leisure. I had already paved the way for myself. No one could ever shake me again. The day we got our divorce certificate, the weather was unusually nice. Chloe stood next to me, smiling brighter than the sun. "Thanks for being so sensible," she said to Clara. "I'll take good care of him from now on." Clara ignored her provocation. Her eyes just traced over my face, as if she were trying to imprint it in her memory. I smiled and nodded at her. "Take care," I said. She softly acknowledged that, unable to hold back her tears. "Leo, I'm sorry." Then she turned and left. We had eventually reached this point. Chloe asked me what my plans were for the future. I answered without any hesitation. "I'm going to travel around the world." During that month of our road trip, the wild wind had penetrated my skin, making my stagnant blood flow and surge again. At that moment, I realized that it wasn't my soul that had been broken, but the shackles that had bound it. I could go anywhere I wanted. I was free. "And you? What's your next move?" I asked Chloe. Her gaze was relaxed. "I've decided to go back and take over the family business. You were right. There's no point in running away. I shouldn't just hand over what is rightfully mine." I nodded and smiled. "That's great. I support you. From the very start, we had an understanding. Both of us had the right to end this relationship at any time, and now it was time to part ways. Just as I was thinking about how to say goodbye, Chloe's clear and pleasant voice rang out. "Keep moving forward, and I'll try to catch up." I was slightly taken aback. I heard her say, "If I do catch up to you, I hope you'll give me a chance to be the real deal. Leo, I really like you." I didn't need to think about it for too long. I raised my lips into a smile and hugged her. Hey, I wouldn't stay in one place for anyone, but I wouldn't mind walking with someone compatible for a while. How long that lasts? Well, that depends on fate. Another 6 months passed. When I arrived at the Abu Simbel temples in Egypt, I received a call from back home. The caller was Clara's attorney. He told me that Clara had died from stomach cancer just a few minutes ago. On her deathbed, she had sold her company and left everything she owned to me. Hearing the news, I only felt a moment's daze. It was sudden, but it wasn't entirely surprising. The lawyer's voice was heavy. "My condolences. Clara left a message for you. Respecting your wishes. Do you want to see it?" I stayed silent for a while. "No need." After hanging up the phone, the tour guide that Chloe had found for me asked if it was an urgent matter and if we needed to pause the tour. I shook my head. "It's nothing important. Let's continue." She smiled and nodded, continuing with her introduction to the local history. The incredible scenery quickly captured my entire attention, as if that phone call had just been an insignificant piece of news, and indeed it wasn't important. It's just that in some quiet moments, a line of poetry would pop into my head. If life could be as it was at first sight, why would autumn winds be sad over painted fans? It was just an exclamation of life's unpredictability. But harsh drizzles always pass. The only thing to do is keep moving forward and never look back.